we could talk about The Thin Man,
Yes.
which is just about a married couple who love messing with each other
Yeah.
and and they love messing with other people and doing bits at other people.
Yeah. Much like King Kong, this I think is one of like my favorite movies. Just like full stop. The dialogue in this movie is like some of my favorite dialogue in anything I've ever seen. I love this movie. I'd seen it before, obviously. It wasn't like
This was my first time.
I didn't immediately jump to the that highly in my brain. I don't know, this movie is so goddamn charming. I can't deal with it.
It's a lot of fun. It is just two people who are just entirely sloshed through the whole movie.
Right. Yeah.
Just having a good time while solving a murder.
Yeah. This is a movie about a retired detective and a wealthy heiress who are married, Nick and Nora Charles, and their dog Asta, who's adorable, sort of being roped into solving a series of murders while drinking very heavily the entire time. And they made 6 of them. Like, this is the first of 6 Thin Man movies. I've only seen the first 3, but they all kind of follow that same basic premise of like, they don't try to get involved in a murder. They're just at a party and someone's talking about murder and they're like, oh, fine, like, I'll help you solve the murder. But also let me drink 8 martinis first.
There's a scene where Nora kind of meets up with Nick as he has already been at a party for a while. And she's like, how many martinis in are you? And he's like, 8. And she's like, bring me 8 martinis.
Yeah, speaking of like good romantic chemistry, was it Myrna Loy and
William Powell
have some of the best romantic chemistry of like any 2 actors I've ever seen.
Yeah, they get along so well. And like, you know, in the last movie, it is people pretending that they hate each other because they don't want to admit to each other that they love each other.
Right.
And this is 2 people who clearly love each other pretending to hate each other as bits. And then
really just to like just to amuse each other. Like, they're like, their love for each other is never in doubt this entire movie. It's like they're seemingly in a very healthy marriage, but at the same time, do like to just like take shots at each other through wordplay in charming fashion.
Yeah, the wordplay and just like the lines in this movie are so good.
That's the writing in this is world class. I feel like this is a movie I could talk about for far too long. But
Glenn's King Kong corner.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty notable that I think like who the murderer is in this movie is like not important almost.
I think the plot gets quite complex, and right. I sort of lost it after a while.
It's based on a book by Dashiell Hammett, who wrote Maltese Falcon and a bunch of other stuff, and it's kind of one of the main American authors to kind of popularize or like kind of invented like hard-boiled detective fiction. So it has a lot of really great kind of like detective lingo in this too, stuff that's in like Coen Brothers movies or other like later noir movies, despite this having like a very kind of sort of light, silly tone.
Yeah,
despite all the murder.
This was the last book that Dashiell Hammett wrote, and I think he kind of like wanted to take a break from this sort of more serious, hard-boiled detective stuff and do the same kind of thing, but have like a lighter tone, more just a romp.
But so like most sort of like hard-boiled detective stories or like noir stories, it has way too many characters and like a million red herrings and like an incredibly needlessly complicated murder plot of like who is like, you know, angry at who and like who was giving money and stealing money from what other people, and like it's so complicated that to the point where it's like, all right, so none of this actually really matters, and ultimately kind of doesn't. Like, I think this is the 3rd time I'd seen this movie, and I did not remember who the murderer is at the end. because it's like, even when it's revealed at the end, it's kind of like, who cares? Like, it's the important thing about this movie is just watching Nick and Nora go to parties with their dog, drink heavily, and then like also happen to solve a murder while they're there.
They love partying so much that rather than just solving the murder, they're like, let's throw a party to solve the murder.
Right. Right. They do end up solving the murder by throwing a party, which is great.
We're gonna invite all of the suspects and have the most like dramatic,
a very
dramatic party,
a very dramatic dinner party where everyone's a suspect. It's
and a bunch of obvious cops are dressed up as waiters.
Yeah. There's a lot of really like fun side characters in this. There's kind of the titular Thin Man is not Nick Charles, as is often a common misconception. Is like the Thin Man of the title is the guy that
suspect, or the
guy who disappears and is thought to then be the murderer. So then all the sequels have to like bend over backwards to be like, how is this a sequel to The Thin Man that keeps that title despite being about different people? One of my favorite side characters in this movie is Gilbert, the creepy nerd brother.
Yeah.
Who is just such a funny character.
He's kind of just like a weenie mama's boy.
Well, he said the first scene he's in, he says, "I know I have a mother fixation, but it's slight."
It's like, is it?
And then he's like obsessed with murder and like psychopaths, and like he's always like trying to like talk to cops and like will just stare at them incessantly and freak them out.
Like psychoanalyze people.
Yeah. So it's like,
but like very ham-fistedly.
I love how everyone in this movie's freaked out by Gilbert. Like all the cops are just like, what is this guy's deal? Like, get him away from me. And then he meets up like a bunch of like hardened criminals, like a bunch of dudes who are like wielding guns and like getting in fights, and they meet Gilbert and they're also just like, get this guy away from me. He's freaking me out. Another fun detail is like all of Nick's friends, because he's a retired detective, are all like criminals or like ex-cops. So like all of Nick's friends that show up are all this like kind of rough band of characters that show up to their apartment.
If we're gonna talk about like filmmaking form stuff for a second, I liked a lot of this movie is fairly normal as far as like camera angles and that kind of thing, but there was like a really cool part where they're casting a dragnet across the country, and then there's this image of a net like exploding out of New York City and going across a map of America, which was a fun thing for sure.
Mm-hmm. To call back to an earlier movie we were talking about, in L'Atalante, the married couple naturally sleep in a bed. In this movie, Nick and Nora sleep in separate beds, which I guess even in a pre-code movie, it was in Hollywood, it was still like, no, they need to have separate twin beds with a nightstand in between.
The nightstand is room for Jesus.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a scene I really like in this movie where Nick and Dorothy, who's kind of the daughter of the Thin Man who's disappeared, Dorothy comes in and is like trying to get Nick to help solve the case. She's crying and sort of crying on Nick's shoulder, and Nora walks in on them, and it's this moment where you think it's gonna be like, oh no, like she walked in, like she's gonna think there's something hinky going on, and they just like make goofy faces at each other, and Nora then like helps the situation.
They're very secure,
right,
with each other,
and that's the thing that I find like so refreshing in any movie. Really, is I feel like marital strife is so often used as like a source of drama. That like never comes up in this movie. Like there's never any doubt that like Nick and Nora will be like continue to be happily married, kind of.
Right.
Even after Nick like punches her in the face in one scene to get her to like knock her out of the path of gunfire, and she just complains like, I wanted to see the fight. Like, what'd you knock me out for? The whole time Nick is like, I'm retired, I don't want to solve a murder, like I just want to drink, like that's all I'm here for. And Nora's the one who's kind of like, I would really like to see you solve a murder though, like I think that would be really cool.
Right, like she got together with him after he was already retired basically, or like he retired as they got together. And so she kind of has been wanting to see some of this action for a while.
Yeah. And so she's almost like needling him to like do detective stuff. And he's like, no, 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 no. I'm not gonna do detective stuff. Like you can't get me. And I don't know, just that is like their whole dynamic is something that I find very refreshing in movies like this, that I feel like doesn't get, surprisingly for how like popular this movie series is, like I feel like that kind of character dynamic doesn't come up a lot.
Yeah, in movies in general, like it's hard to have a movie with romance that doesn't have some kind of romantic tension in it.
Right.
And yeah, this movie I think does some really fun stuff by pushing that completely aside.
Yeah.
It creates like a really unique dynamic between the two characters.
Yeah. There is a moment where Nick is going off to like at night to investigate. He's like finally kind of decided to help out at this point, and he like goes off at night to break into a building basically. And that's like the first time that Nora starts to get kind of worried that it's like, oh shit, like he is kind of like going off to an abandoned building at night. And that's kind of the one moment where it's like they start, like he starts doing bits and she's like, no, 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 hang on, like stop doing a bit for a second. Like I'm actually kind of worried. That's also a thing that I think kind of helps ground all the bits.
Their
and it's like, right.
Yeah.
It's like a moment of actual kind of sincerity through all of the kind of, all the banter.
This movie, yeah, it does have this kind of ironic distance, and they have this ironic distance this entire time because they're both drunk for the entire movie.
I don't condone alcoholism. It's very bad. Please drink responsibly. But I do really like how drunk they are for like the whole movie.
It gives it this really like loose vibe.
Yeah,
it's almost like a stoner movie of the 30s.
Yes, very much so. It's like it's
like Pineapple Express, actually.
Yeah, like that's kind of, I had never thought about that before, but it does feel like kind of like a precursor to that entire genre. This is a drunk movie instead of a stoner movie. But there's things like the cops are trying to get Nick to like help out, and Nora's like, oh, he already has a case. Like, a case? What case? A case of scotch.
A lot of great lines in this that I want to steal and use. Like, you got your skates, let's roll.
Yeah. When they have their kind of big dinner party where they've invited all the suspects, Nora says to one of the waiters, "Will you serve the nuts? I mean, serve the guests the nuts?"
Or like, there's a point where the cops like bust into their house and start looking around, and they're like, you can't come in here and come into our house. And the cops say, have you ever heard of the Solomon Act? And she says, oh, it's okay, we're married.
Right, which I think, is that a reference to the Mann Act?
I don't know what the Mann Act
the Mann Act was like an anti-prostitution legislation from I think the late 20s, like maybe early 20s, that was like you can't like women can't like cross state lines unless they're married, or it was some, I'm paraphrasing, but it was some like wacky law.
My thought was that maybe it was some kind of reference to sodomy, like the Solomon Act or something like that. But I don't know. It's just funny, no matter what it is intending to mean.
Regardless of what it means, it is just very funny. Nick has his big sort of like detective monologue where he's like running down like, all right, here's what happened. You know, this guy was doing this guy was doing this, and this. He's explaining the whole plot that's led up to the whole movie. And like halfway through, Nora leans in and goes, is any of this true? And he's like, I don't know. Which even that is like, that's such a classic like detective story thing. Like the detective lays out all the facts, right?
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, Nick Charles is just like, I'm kind of making half this shit up, but that's the only way it makes sense. So you're just going to have to roll with it.
He understands it better than I do.
Yeah.
That scene where he was doing all of the explaining, it was a lot of stuff for him to memorize all in one take. And Myrna Loy in her autobiography was writing about shooting that scene and how they were serving oysters during the party, and the oysters started stinking.
Oh no!
Because that scene lasted so long, and they kept having to retake it over and
also,
over again.
Those old Fresnel lights, I'm sure, were not helping.
Yeah.
Cooking the oysters. Dang. Yeah, this movie was nominated for Best Picture, lost to It Happened One Night, but had 5 sequels, a radio show, a TV show, a stage musical, and presumably an infinite playlist as well. Since I assume that's where that title comes from.
It's a reference.
It's a riff on this, yeah. There's also a cocktail glass called the Nick and Nora glass, which is named after those characters.
And there's a cocktail called the Nick and Nora as well.
Okay. Is it just is it like a Long Island iced tea? It's just every type of liquor.
It's like it's a gin thing, I think.
Yeah.
It's like a riff on a martini.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that this movie was like a heavy drinking movie, and I started making I started trying to make cocktails to for myself to watch to
Mm-hmm.
drink while watching the movie.
Get the 4D experience.
To get the 4D experience. There were a couple cocktails that are particularly featured in this movie, and the one that was the most appetizing to me was the Manhattan, which Nick says that you have to shake it to a foxtrot beat. So I put some foxtrot music on to shake my Manhattan too. I went to the liquor store because I was out of sweet vermouth, which was a part of a long series of just me getting distracted on the way to watching this movie.
I can't watch The Thin Man. I'm out of sweet vermouth.
That's exactly what happened. So I went to the liquor store, and then I didn't get carded, presumably because when I asked the guy, "Can I have your smallest bottle of sweet vermouth?" that would not be a thing that anyone underage would ask for.
That good point. Yeah. Right.
So
no one who's like going to a liquor store who's underage and is trying to buy liquor is like, I need a very small bottle of sweet vermouth, please.
But yeah, then I got a headache because I drank a cocktail, and then I got distracted with other things, and so it took me a long time to actually watch this movie because I was getting too distracted with drinking.
Yeah, I think maybe the 4D experience is maybe not advised for watching this movie. We probably won't watch them for the show, but the second 2 movies are also very enjoyable. I think it's like After the Thin Man and like Curse of the Thin something like that. Something. Yeah, they all have like increasingly kind of convoluted titles. But this is also a Christmas movie, very timely to watch it when we
Christmas. It's a Christmas detective movie, a la Shane Black.
Yeah. So yet another reason why it's one of my favorites.
This I should also note really quick that this has an early appearance of Cesar Romero. The Joker from the 60s Batman. He plays the boy toy of the rich ex-wife in this movie.
Right. Yeah, there's so many like great, like the insanely large supporting cast is a lot of very fun kind of like 30s stock characters that all have their own dramas going on. Asta the dog is played by Skippy, who was a wire fox terrier who had a long and successful career as an actor.
Yeah, we saw Skippy in Merrily We Go to Hell.
Right, uncredited in that film.
And he's also in Bringing Up Baby.
Yeah. I was trying to find out like which Thin Man movies Skippy plays Asta in, but the dog is always credited as Asta in every Thin Man movie, so it's very difficult to kind of suss out like which movies Asta is played by the same dog. But what a dream this movie is of just like I would love to one day drunkenly solve a murder with a dog.